Hello and welcome back to the Yorkshire Outdoorsman, and as you can see I've bought a new air rifle. It's been a long time coming. It's something I've wanted for a long time, and this is the model that I wanted for quite some time as well. Obviously from the title of the video you can see that it's a Weihrauch HW110. It's the standard version, it's not the carbine, it's a full length version. I know there are millions upon millions of reviews of this particular gun and many others also, but this is my review of it, it's my thoughts. So let's get started. The first thing to say is that it came in this lovely full length hard case. I also bought a bag for it, a gun slip. I needed a square one because when it's got the laser sight on, which I'll show you in a minute, it doesn't fit in a normal bag, so that's the reason I got this one. The stock itself is actually wood, believe it or not, but it's covered in this like rubberized material which makes it very smooth, non-slip even with gloves on, so I'm quite pleased with that. The only thing I'm sort of considering for future is the fact whether it will be easy to scratch or it will pick up dust and difficult to clean because it's such a sticky, not sticky, but such a surface that's going to be difficult to wipe. I don't know, it does feel a little bit difficult to wipe. I've already had some dust on it and it's difficult to get off. That's just my opinion. The block itself, the action itself, is actually made out of a ballistic polymer as opposed to metal as you'd expect, but I quite like that. The cocking handle is a side lever type that's very smooth and operates right at the very end. The full movement of it is not spring assisted at all, it's all up to you to do it. As I say, the cocking action is right at the very end, just a little click and it will engage the hammer and what have you. I like the side levers. They've grown on me, to be quite honest. I like bolt action rifles, I like PCPs in general, but I'd never got on with these. It's grown on me, this. The magazine loading is done by opening up the bolt, lifting up this catch that you can see here, putting in your magazine, which I'll do in a moment, and then letting it drop and closing the bolt. The only thing is, I wish this could be on the other side. I believe that you can have them changed to the other side. I wouldn't recommend you doing it yourself unless you're a professional or an expert or you know what you're doing. I'd get your local gun shop or armourer to do it, or Weihrauch to do it, because it's very difficult to load your magazine in at the same time as holding this up, given that this is on the right hand side of the gun and you'll load your magazine from the same side, from the right. So you're having to lift it up and try and put the magazine in, unless you need to do two-handed job, as it were. It would be much easier if the magazine retaining clip was on the other side, I think. What do you think? The air cylinder is a 200 bar fill, and this one's in 2.2, so we should be good for about 110 to 120 shots or something along those lines. I haven't tried it yet, I haven't got that far. The safety catch is right above the trigger, easily operated with your thumb. It doesn't operate unless the gun is cocked, which is a good thing, and it's a manual as well, so it doesn't come on automatically, it's up to you to actually put it on. It came as standard with this Weihrauch silencer, which works really well. On the front there is the air gauge, the manometer. Not my favourite place for an air gauge, I'm afraid, and many people will say the same thing. You don't want to be looking down the dangerous end, although you can see it without going too close to the end of the barrel. But again, it's still not my favourite place for one of those, but due to manufacturing procedures, there's nowhere else it can go really. Filling this one is through a fill probe. You take out the plug, which does have seals on it. I think it's worth mentioning that you need to be just as careful and just as conscientious with those seals as you would with any other seals on the gun. I'm led to believe certain other YouTube channels have stated the same thing. Excuse me. Because they've had air leaks before and it's been caused by that seal not being done properly. I've also added a bipod. It's not particularly heavy, although I do have quite a stonking great sight on it. This sight came with a gun, and so did the silencer, and so did the bipod. I bought it as a package. If I had a choice, I would have had a slightly smaller scope. My scope of choice, if I had a choice, would have been the Vector Weihrauch 3-14 B44, I think would be my one. That's a first focal plane and it's illuminated reticle. Excuse me. This is a Hawk fast mount, I believe. 3-14 by 50. It's also illuminated reticle, but I've also added, you can't really see that very well I'm afraid, the lighting here is absolutely appalling and I do apologise, you can smack my legs later. Yes, this is a Vector Optics laser designator. At the moment I've got it just on the push switch. There is another one you can attach to it on a wire that is sort of a push to activate, release to deactivate type of affair. Personally I prefer that just on this as it is, just push button. That's just my personal preference. I did get an extra mount for this other than the one that came with it. I bought this one because it has a leveler on it, a spirit level on it. You just push the button and it fires out a beam. You can focus the beam. I'm not sure if I'd ever use it on something as small as that, but you just zero it out to your scope at different distances, so you've got pretty much instant night vision. Maybe I'll do a review on this Vector Optics laser designator at some point in the future. But I've used these kind of things before. I did have a Laser Genetics ND3 some time ago, and I absolutely loved it. So I don't think this will be any different. Maybe better. One thing I do know for certain is with the Vector Optics version, it's much sturdier. With the ND3 that I had, the mounts that came with it were really quite poor, in as much as that when you tighten them up they'd come loose, and when you tighten them up a bit more they'd come loose, and you'd end up stripping threads on them and it being all wobbly and what have you. This is a really good mount, and it's quick detach as well with the quick detach mechanism. You didn't get any of that with the ND3, certainly not when I bought one anyway. So that is an absolute plus for this particular model. The magazines are simplicity itself. They're just the simple drum type where you load your pellets in from this side. So there you have a fully loaded magazine. Not really, obviously, this is an empty one of course, but this is just to demonstrate. You would open the cocking lever all the way till it clicks, lift up the retaining catch, place your magazine in the slot, just give it a little flick just to make sure it's aligned, release the lever, and with the fully loaded magazine you're now ready to go. Now because the rifle is now cocked, you can apply the safety catch. The only other thing I've got against this gun is that the safety catch is, although it's very positive and very definite, it's also very, very loud. You could try and do it quietly, I suppose, but it's difficult. That's the only other gripe I've got. I'm just going to release the air. You've already seen that the magazine is empty, the gun is also empty. So there we have it. Now the trigger on this is extremely light. It's much lighter than I'm used to, that is for certain. Other YouTube channels have tested this out and they reckon it's probably somewhere in the region of about 1.1 to 1.2 pounds of pull weight, which is feather light really. I suppose it's good if for target shooters, but I think when you're out in the field, I think I would prefer something with slightly more weight than that for hunting, but that's just my own personal preference. It does make it obviously very accurate. These guns are inherently accurate anyway with the beautiful barrels that they have on them, but for me 1.2 pounds or something is quite light for my liking. You can adjust the trigger, but I'm not going to. It says in the manual not to fiddle with them, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to follow that. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to try and get used to the trigger. I'm sure I will. I think what it will mean, certainly for me, is to make sure that I'm using the safety catch probably more than I would, normally on an air rifle. You should be using safety catch anyway, I know, but I think I'll be definitely paying more attention to it out in field, with the trigger being so light. At some point I may take it back to the shop and get the armourer to adjust the trigger for me. Someone who knows what they're doing really. I know it's such a simple task, some of you will say, but I don't like messing with things myself. If something goes wrong, it's my fault. If you start messing with things, it will void your warranty and all sorts of stuff like that, so I would rather let the professionals do any tinkering with it. At the moment I've not had it out to test it properly. I've done some short range indoor stuff with it, but I haven't done anything outside yet, so that will be in an up and coming video. But up to now I'm very impressed with it. I like it. It looks the business. It's not too heavy. It should be easily maintained. PCPs require very, very little maintenance anyway. So stay tuned, keep watching, and hopefully in the near future, probably after Christmas now I would think, depending on the weather, we'll get out and we'll give it some tests. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you like my new gun, and I look forward to making a video out in the field with it. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time.